their role has now many added facets and responsibilities. As a driving force behind workforce management and development, CHROs play a pivotal role in their organization for future success. It's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to one and all to the CHRO Summit 2024, Empowering CHROs for Workplaces of the Future, a platform for CHROs and HR leaders that will provide valuable insights into emerging trends and priorities that CHROs need to embrace for future growth and success. May I now invite Director General Bombay Chamber, Sandeep Khosla, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Chetna. Good morning and a very, very warm welcome to all of you. We are still expecting some people because outside all those who have come would have seen a complete jam. So before every festival, due to the flower market, it gets, So thank you all for having the patience on this, beautiful morning where I wish I was in Dharamshala watching the cricket with lovely weather there. But interesting topic here. So a brief about the chamber. We are the oldest chamber in the country. We were set up in 1836 by the Britishers. 7 Britishers and 3 Parsi gentlemen. And we've retained a Parsi gentleman with us, so Adil is still here, heading our HR, and that's our strength. As we all know, most of the trading during that time happened via the ports. And Mumbai being one of the biggest ports, the chamber was set up here. The chamber was instrumental in getting the railways to India. So the first railway line which came between Bombay and Thane was due to the efforts of the Bombay chamber. So was the budget presentation which happened, at 4 o'clock in the evening till the Modi government changed it. And that was again something which the chamber was instrumental in doing. So from 1836 till today, we've evolved. The chamber has, helped so many organizations to become what they are today. A small organization which joined us all those years back are today at this spreads across the world. Main focus today is helping not only the large organization network or liaison with the government of India, with RBI, with SEBI. Our advocacy is one of our strongest part for all these years. But a big element today is looking at how the larger members can help MSMEs. Because that's an area which the chamber for the last 30-35 years has taken a big interest, and whether these are new technologies which the MSMEs cannot or don't have the resources to do, our bigger members help. Just a small example, our sustainability head of Mahindra, they did a lot of work on water conservation. Now, water conservation becomes a very tedious exercise for smaller MSMEs. So they imparted this free of cost to the MSME, saying that you have small units of manufacturing, and this is where we will help you. And that's the kind of the role the chamber plays today. Among the 3 or 4 very, very important areas which the chamber is involved in, of course, there are all the traditional ones like taxation and legal and all that keeps on happening. So some of these were there 150 years back, and although it's evolved, but the chamber steadily been doing a lot of work in those areas. But some of the new areas which chamber looks very, very closely at are innovations with AI and other things being a sharp focus. Ease of doing business, we continuously looking at newer methods as to how we can convince various governments to look at ease of doing business. And DE&I. DE&I is very, very important for the chamber, and we keep on pushing it. Of course, some of the large organizations are, already doing a lot of work there. But again, our aim is how do we push this into the MSMEs, and that's where last year we had the first DE&I Awards. My colleague Steena would take us through a small glimpse of what we did last year. We began getting on the second edition, but I think we were the only ones across India who had huge participation from MSMEs in this particular area. So a lot of case studies which we did were something which we imparted to smaller one, and we came out with a book. Subsequently, some of the best practices were again sent to our member. So that's an important topic, and I think with the kind of panel we have, we will listen as to how the diversity, which is playing such an important role, is something which we can promote. So welcome all once again. I'm thankful to Hindustan Unilever for supporting us in this venture of ours, and hope we have a great session. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, sir. So before we proceed further, we have exciting news for you. And to announce the news, I request Steena Joy, Joint Director, Bombay Chamber, to the podium. Over to you, Steena.
A very good morning to all of you all. I hope we have great sessions today. And I have some exciting news to share. I'm sure most of you all who are outside already have a little bit hint about what it is. Today, diversity is a topic that's going to be, talked about a lot on this event today. And when we talk about diversity, it's not a box to check. It's something which we have to feel and which is held and deeply valued by all of us. And this is what Bombay Chamber wanted to do when we announced our DEI Awards, our first DEI Awards last year, which was hugely successful. So before I go further, just 2 minutes, can we have a look at a video? That was just a glimpse of what we did last year. And I'll just have a short PPT to run you all through the edition this year. Registrations have already opened last week, and it will be open till March 22nd. So plenty of time for all of you all to register for this very interesting DEI Awards. In fact, when we Googled and researched, actually, we are the only industry chamber that is doing DEI Awards. And so it's come from a very illustrious legacy of 188 years. It's by an industry body. So these are the USPs. And of course, we also have a special category mention for MSMEs because like Mr. Khosla said, we need to take DEI percolated to the lower grassroots levels and not just with the large organizations. And we also had a book where we, featured the top winners. We had 12 of them from Tata Motors to Tech Mahindra. And we also had the smaller companies like HTMC and IRA Consulting and Malcolm Consulting. So we need to, handhold them. And I think many of you all are in a position to do that. So you all be part of the DI journey with us. And as you can see, we have, so about us, we all know it's a 188-year-old industry body. And so the DI Awards, we are doing this time, our knowledge partner is Deloitte. So they will be, they helped us to, the registration forms and all the metrics by which the nominations will be shortlisted. So the first process is that we'll have the nominations in, registration, and then the nomination. And you have to make the payment only at the nomination level. Then we have a preliminary assessment by Deloitte, and then a secondary assessment where we have a proper jury from industrial leaders, not the industry, who will be scrutinizing the nominations. And then we have the award ceremony at the Four Seasons Hotel Mumbai on June 12th. So we hope that you all are part of this journey, and please Please register today itself. So these are the categories. We have an overall DI Champion Award. We have an award for gender equality, the LGBTQ, Disability Confidence and Inclusion Award. We purposely didn't want to use the word PWD. And then we have award for the best DI program. And as I mentioned before, a special award for the MSMEs. So please join us. Outside, we have a brochure, a small listing that you all can contact the person for DI Awards, or you can just go to our website, and we have got a link which will take you directly to the registration page. So the process is you register first, and then the forms will be sent to you, whichever categories you want to nominate yourself in. So please join us in the DI, and I hope we see many of you all in the process and register yourself today itself. Yeah, thank you. And I'll over to you, Chetna, to take proceedings further.
Thank you, Steena. Without further ado, let's invite our esteemed speaker, Dr. Adil Malia, Chief Executive, the firm and mentor, HRM Committee, Bombay Chamber, whose insights and expertise on dynamics of talent management promise to enrich our discussions today. May I invite Dr. Malia to the dais with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Just when I left home this morning, I thought I was a genius. I told my wife that, see, even Bombay Chambers of Commerce calls me to attend sessions and things like that. You just come out here and realize that I was called only because I'm a Parsi. In situation, I'm sandwiched to speak between two people, Sandeep and my friend out here, Sahil. I'm supposed to be delivering the keynote address. Now, the peculiarity is that he is the big boss who holds all the keys. He is the big consultant who holds all the big notes. And I'm supposed to deliver the keynote. And I don't know how to do that. Be so as it may, we coming to the theme of what I'm going to be sharing with you. We live in an age of knowledge and in dynamic times of talent. So it's an age of knowledge. I'm not going to labor much more. Each one of you is erudite enough to understand. Say it's the age of knowledge. And why this age of knowledge is hibernated by this entire times of talent, because talent in the changing times continues to be the only long-term sustainable advantage that a company can have. All the technologies that companies require in the world are all purchasable. All the resources are available, whoever has money. And in fact, today money is not a great challenge. There is sufficient amount of money available to sponsor you for whatever activities you want to do. The real sustainable advantage in any organization comes from talent. So the cutting edge success in the times that we are in is coming from talent, irrespective of whether you are a big organization or a small organization. The big organizations have a distinct advantage because they bring in a lot of deep pockets, and therefore the green bucks from the deep pockets are used to sponsor that. Versus the MSMEs continue to, as it is, fight for their existence, and because of the sheer inability to pay the high-end kind of compensations, they tend to lose their talents much more. But whichever way you look at it, talent continues to be the challenge, and whoever is able to really provide talent edge to the value chain is the one that succeeds. Each one of us is born with talent, and I promise you, after 40 years in the corporate world of handling people, I refuse to believe that there are people who are born without talent. Some talent or the other, some unique talent or the other, each one of us is born with. Some of us are not. We have succeeded in identifying the talent. Some of us are unfortunate because we have not even identified the talent that we have brought with it. Some of us are a little lucky that having identified the talent, we have done something to develop it. And some are lucky because they have not succeeded only in identifying the talent they have. They have had the opportunity to develop it and use that talent to create value for themselves and for the enterprise they work in. That is the greater myths. So if you look at the entire journey, there are 4 things happening for each one of us individually as talent. Number 1 is identification of the talent. Either you self-identify your talent or someone comes to identify the talent. I think you have got that talent. So first is the stage of identification of talent. Second is developing through a structured learning process. Unless talent is developed, it has no meaning. If you can just sing very well in some home party, that is not good enough. It has to be developed. Otherwise, undeveloped talent only ends up becoming a hobby. After developing, are you able to convert that into a value-creating process for the organization you are working? Because what will I do with your talent when you come to my organization? That talent is either not relevant or we are not able to use that talent to create value, because organizations are about creating value. So talent which comes handy for the organization to create value grows, and talent which is irrespective, is not contributing to the value creation journey of the organization, loses its value over a period of time. And the most important stage is talent constantly updating itself, or is it remaining on its haunches under the false belief that I am talent and therefore I will continue to remain the talent forever and ever? Because with the changing times, the requirement and the kind of talent that comes in is totally different. If you were talented and were able to do something and the others were not able to do it, technology finds a way to fill the gap so that most people with the aid of that technology are able to do what you otherwise were naturally born with that ability to do. So technology fills up the gap of the talent, and therefore if talent by itself does not develop, will lose out its premier advantage. That's one of the thoughts that I thought I would share with you. But the greatest problem I industry today, and with most of the clients who we advise, is of talent. Over a period of time, the world began with calling the department people organization. Then they suddenly decided overnight, people catches, let's call them human resources. So, abracadabra, without doing anything else, they started calling them human resources. Then over a period of time, the human resources became talent, and everyone without doing anything, abracadabra, became talent. So talent is just now used in such a very loose fashion to refer to everyone who are the people in your organization. Instead of calling them human resources or people, we refer to them as talent. And we believe they are talented. So therefore, you need to remember that talent is that. And of course, I will give you a definition of what I believe is talent. But talent is that in a given knife. By the way, a knife has only 5% cutting edge. 95% of your knife is the spreading edge. You're only spreading. But the cutting, which is the critical element of the knife, is done by only 5% of the edge. But we tend to call the whole 100% a knife. Versus a knife by definition is something that you cut with. That's exactly what we do. Talent is that portion of people in your organization who are heading to the human resources aspects of the work and the processes that they run. That set of people who give you the cutting edge advantage on the basis of which your organization is able to create differentiated value. That is talent. Let's look at the definition of talent. Talent is any unique natural attribute. I will define it, but I'll take parts of it to define it. So it's a natural. So the fact is that talent, what you call, has to be born naturally in you. But does it mean that if you are not naturally born with it, you cannot develop it? It can be developed by imitation and development, versus the advantage that talent has it is naturally born with it and it doesn't have to be. You can be trained to be a great singer. But if you are naturally born like Kishore Kumar, who does not require any kind of training, that's talent. Alright? But talent output can be developed by training and imitation. But naturally born talent is called talent because it is not requiring any kind of investment to further develop itself. So talent is any unique natural attribute or any innate ability which enables the holder of that particular skill, knowledge, or ability to create a differentiated product as compared to anyone else. So there are people in the organization which are creating value. Talent has that ability which is born in him, by the results of which it is able to create differentiated performance, and therefore organizations and they end up creating better value for themselves than what others are. Alright? So the unique 4 or 5 characteristics of talent that you should know about is number 1, it's a unique attribute or ability. It's unique, it's not common. Whatever is common is never called talent. If everybody can do it, you cannot call it talent. It is the ability of only some people to reflect that. And that's why that attribute is a unique attribute or ability which is innate. You are born with it. You are blessed with it. As I said, everyone has some of the other talent. Half the time people don't even know. They go home back to the heavenly God, unopened package. The talent was never even opened, never even identified. The package remained inside. Please don't do that. Please identify that little talent in you and develop it. Whichever talent that may be. But what is important is that it is natural and innate. It creates a differentiated performance. That is very, very important. It enhances the performance. Because if you are a singer and you are working in BCCI, I will come and say, how is it linked? So to the value chain of the enterprise. So talent is not a common definition. In a group of singers, you may have talent, but when you come out here, that talent may not be relevant. So talent is contextual dependent. It has to depend on which context that talent is being used. And what is very important is what role you are performing should benefit from that talent. Only then the talent gets value. I'm going to use the next few moments just to talk about a few myths and mysteries that people have about talent and share with you those myths and mysteries, and then leave it open for you to ask me more questions, because it is such a deep subject that within a 30-minute time I will not be able to deliver a full justice to the theme. Talent number 1 is raw when it is born. It is not fully developed when it is born. It is raw when it is born, but its output can be imitated and developed. And therefore, talent acquisition in the entire talent management cycle becomes the most critical element. If the organizations have started looking at talent, it is better to invest time in hiring the right talent than to hire inadequate talent and waste time to develop it further, because the investment that you will put into develop talent, you are not even sure whether that talent will be giving you the results of the investments you made. So greater and greater, the maximum amount of advantage an enterprise's career management and talent management system can get is out of its ability to recruit in the first place the right talent. Therefore, talent is raw, it has to be developed, but it has to have the talent. Therefore, your ability to identify the talent and pick them up to join your enterprise is one of the most key drivers of your success in an enterprise. Talent is often dependent on a mentor, because talent does not know that it is talent. Talent does not come with a kind of a placard in your system to say, I am talent. There is talent, and it requires someone to identify that talent and say you are a talent. So it's like this, talent is like a raw diamond. A raw diamond cannot do anything. A raw diamond is no value in the market. The same diamond, when it is put in the shop, will create value only when the diamond cutter sees the raw diamond, identifies how many maximum cuts I can put in. Am I supposed to bruit it? That means, should I cut it with my hands? Or am I supposed to machine cut it? And how shall I polish it to get it the maximum sparkle and the maximum price? So the price of the diamond in the market is not a function of the diamond as much as it is the function of the cutter of the diamond, who who is able to identify the potential and then give it the right shape, the right color, and the right sparkle, it's only then that the value of the diamond comes in. Otherwise, actually, if you are the wrong guy, then the potential of the diamond is actually lost. If he cuts it in a wrong way, the diamond loses its value. So therefore, as important as talent, so important in your organization is the mentor who's able to look at that talent and develop it. Otherwise, raw diamond is no value in the marketplace. Alright, so that's the second point. In fact, he should be able to drive performance out of, because talent at times comes with arrogance. It has a little talent and you identify, talent tends to come with arrogance. In fact, the mentor has to mature him. In fact, there's a very beautiful shairi on this. It says, उसे गुमान है कि उसकी उड़ान ऊंची है, हमें यकीन है कि उसका आसमान नीचे है. That is what he's supposed to do. Because he tends to believe that, oh, I'm talented, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that. And he has to slowly keep raising the bar to make him realize, boss, okay, you were good for this level, but now the skies are high. Let us see if you can fly up to that. So he has to handhold him and take him to that level. So that is the second quality that you require, a great mentor to drive your organization's talent management system. The third is a strong belief most companies have, despite of experiencing talent for several years. And that is that the talent can be trapped and imprisoned after employment. अभी हमने employ कर लिया उसको, अब वो कहीं नहीं जाएगा, talent हमारे पास ही रहने वाला है. And that's the greatest myth most people have. Talent has a distinct quality to continuously search for its right level. To continuously search for its right level. So it is not going to be satisfied at the level which you are keeping it if you are not growing it to the natural level that it is bound to grow. So number one is, talent will keep searching. You have to help talent to find its path to that level. When talent is disengaged and it will stop giving, it will stop giving its discretionary effort. Everybody who has talent inside has a discretion to show and give that talent to the value chain or not. But when it is disengaged, talent refuses to put in the discretionary effort that is required to contribute to the organization. So talent has to be continuously engaged. Underutilized talent tends to migrate. It tends to leave you. You cannot underutilize talent saying, I'm paying you, what's your problem in life? What do you want to do? If I don't utilize you, it's my problem. Never works like that. Underutilized talent tends to create attrition in the enterprise, and you've got to be very mindful of that. And unutilized talent has the unique ability to be actually destructive energy and cause a lot of dysfunctionality in your organization by creating all kinds of wrong messaging. When people see that talented people have no jobs, talented people are not utilized, then they say, if they are not utilized, what's going to happen to you? So that's the third criticality and uniqueness of talent in its thing, and most organizations don't identify that. The fourth misbelief of the 5 misbeliefs people have about talent is that talent is ready-made and it's a plug-and-play system. Talent is never ready-made and talent is never plug-and-play. It is very, very necessary that depending on the application that you want to put that talent to, talent has to be trained, adjusted and nurtured to deliver value in that particular space where you want to use that talent. The most important criticality is that organizations need to have a talent mindset. And most organizations keep talking about talent, but they do not have a talent mindset or a culture in the enterprise which has the ability to nurture that talent, and therefore talent management remains only a presentation they give in management campuses, or on the first day when a new employee comes, they say, we are a highly talent competent organization, we value talent, etc., etc. Actually, the only talent management most organizations do is called the last day talent management. The moment the resignation letter of an employee comes, suddenly his talent management program starts. तेरा तो career बना देंगे, तो salary देंगे कि हमको, we have decided to give you more salary. You know, the last 2 times you were not promoted, actually we are going to promote you. Tomorrow morning, if you withdraw resignation, all of this will happen. So most companies are actually last day career management companies. And that is the reality. I do not know why so many of you are laughing, but I can recognize that it will be happening in most organizations. All organizations, last day, and I have seen, in fact, I was reading an article only yesterday which was saying that only in 2 out of 10 companies the career management programs are working. Otherwise, they are empty formats, vague presentations, which do not deliver the value that they are promising. And actually, what happens? When you go to a shop and you buy Fair and Lovely, and you apply Fair and Lovely, and if Fair and Lovely does not make you Fair and Lovely, will you go and buy it again? Will you go and buy it again? So when people are promised careers, which systems don't work in the organization when they join in, what do you think people are going to do? They are first of all going to attract, and then they are going to also tell their friends, पागल बनाते हैं कुछ Fair and Lovely होता है. ये तो बकवास है, खाली presentation है तेरे को campus से यहाँ लाने के लिए. Which is why in the first 3 years, most management trainees leave the organizations because they get so disillusioned by the campus presentations. We promise them all kinds of career growth programs, and when people come into the organization within first 3 years, first 18 months, not even 3 years, they soon realize कि बकवास है, ये कुछ होता नहीं रहा, क्योंकि मेरे आगे वाले आदमी तो वही थे वही है, वो तो मूवी नहीं पता तू 6 साल में CEO बन जाएगा, वो कैसे हो? Right, so these are the realities of life. It's fine-tuned for utilization, and you have to build the right climate, which is very, very important. The last peculiar characteristic of talent is that unattended talent fades. It fades away. All right. Hired talent can be ignored, but unattended talent has a tendency to fade. It requires continuous directions, constant attention and communication. You need to understand, talent comes with a certain element of price and pride. It is not, you cannot just get the best talent and say, अब तेरे को बाकी के लोगों के साथ छोड़ दिया हमने. Talent requires continuous attention. Talent is demanding. When someone knows that he is talented and far more different than the others, talent is demanding. I demand to be acknowledged. I demand to be recognized differently. I cannot be socialized. सबके साथ जो कर रहे हो, मेरे साथ कर रहे हो, तो मुझे क्या फायदा है? Let me go somewhere else. Talent demands attention, which most companies do not. Now, it's a very peculiar situation. If you start giving attention to talent, the others come and ask you a question. क्या मैं talent नहीं हूँ? Am I not contributing? Why is he getting attention? So the very delicate balance. It is a balance that has to be managed not with the knife of a butcher, but with the scalpel of a surgeon. That balance has to be maintained. That how much of attention will I give to this talent? Because if I don't give attention, it will run away. At the same time, how do I step back and ensure that the others who are not getting that unique advantage or not getting that unique attention do not get disillusioned to say that it looks like we are not talent, ये तो अपना future का बहुत तैयार हो गया, हम रह के क्या करेंगे, चलो हम कहीं और जाते हैं, बोरिया रजिस्टर निकल के कोई और कंपनी, वहाँ भी उसका हश्र तो वही होता है, but he believes that he will get a better advantage somewhere else. And talent requires 2 things: connection and engagement. What is connection? Talent needs to be connected to the strategy of the enterprise. Where is my company going? What does it really want to deliver? Therefore, what is and how is my role connected to the larger strategy of the company? It's a classical analogy we have always heard, that there were 2 bricklayers who were trying to make a church. one of them was looking very unhappy. So the philosopher goes to him and says, why are you looking unhappy? Saying, what do I do? Every day I have to bring bricks, and I lay my bricks, and I go home, and I come back, and I again brick, and I again put the bricks, and again, it's going on till the shepherd will come out. And the other guy who seemed to be happy doing the same job, when the philosopher approached him, he said, you know why I'm happy? Because I know that I'm building the church to the God. So when you make a person link himself and his activities and work to the larger journey of the strategy and enterprise of your organization, he believes he is connected. And then you put in the engagement programs. That is the way you will be able to retain your key talent, which is very important in your organization. From an organizational perspective, and this is the last thought I'm going to share with you, what do you therefore need? What do organizations therefore need to do in this age of talent, where talent is the only long-term sustainable advantage that a company has? How do you, or what are the 4 or 5 things you need to do? Number 1, keep focusing on talent acquisition. Talent acquisition of the right order is very, very critical. Your talent acquisition manager has to be very sharp. He should know what the business requires. Therefore, when he is recruiting, he just can't do a normal interview. Acha, which company you work with? Okay. What was the salary you drawn? Okay. What work have you done in the past? Give me the chronology. Half the chronology and everything is written in the CV, but we keep asking them the same questions over and over again. Why I go, I don't know. But that kind of recruitment will never get you any talent. Talent requires focused talent acquisition. The second is performance management system, which is able to distinguish and differentiate talent's performance versus performance of. But if our performance management systems are like, general tick mark, present all day, done, work done, any particular thing missed out, no, everything. So everyone's performance appraisal actually makes him look like an A+ candidate. Then you don't know how to differentiate the performance of talent. Therefore, your performance management system has to be so tight that it is able to identify the differentiated talent and its performance, and then be able to give it the recognition and the reward that needs to be given. Otherwise, why should talent want to remain in your company? If you do not recognize it, if you do not reward it, why for should it continue here? Because talent will continuously search a level where it will be recognized. So therefore, it is bound to attract, it is bound to go out of your company. Do you have ability to fast track the business? नहीं सर, हमारे एक promotion 4 साल के बाद ही मिलता है. Now here comes a bloody bright star who is fantastic compared to everyone else. Does your system have ability to move in fast, or will you put him into the trap of a format to say, boss, 4 साल में एक promotion मिलेगा. तू इतना भी बाहोश परफॉर्मर होगा, 4 साल में एक बार मिलेगा, तो उसको मिल गया, फिर बाकी के 3 साल वो सो सकता है. Because performance or a promotion. So are you having the ability in your systems to fast track the performers of talent which you are really vying for? Are you able to engage them? And are you able to connect them to the strategy of your business, which shows that you are doing something which is very important to the company? If you do some of this system, very easy to say do it. But as I always keep saying, I have a very favorite share which I would like to close by. That ख्वाहिशों से नहीं देते फूल दान. I wish I had also all these systems and I could maintain a company where everything is right. So it says ख्वाहिशों से नहीं देते फूल दान. वक्त की साख को हिलाना होगा. कुछ नहीं होगा अंधेरों को कोसने से. अपने हिस्से का दिया खुद ही जलाना होगा. The problem is with my answers, you will be left more confused.
Maximum 3 questions.
One question. If the company is not that big and the company is not growing, so how can we give this fast track to the target? Not be that complex.
It is like saying that I want to eat ice cream,
Right.
I want to eat cakes, I want to eat oily food, but I am getting cholesterol. Right. But doctor is saying you will not live long. How can? But some point of time you have to start doing something.
Some startups are there.
So how will the startup attract talent? So these days they have found the solution. We will give you stock option. Now the startups are losing attention. They are not getting the kind of talent because they are all realizing that तो कोई stock दे दिया लेकिन वो stock का कोई value नहीं है. It's not even worth the pilot paper that we are giving. But the important thing is get one guy. You don't need to get 50 guys. And that one guy you pay, that one guy should be the most important guy who will slowly over a period of time. So rather than trying to spread yourself so thin to get 50 guys, get one guy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh yes, now the notes will come. I think he has already come.
Thank you, Dr. Malia. As a token of appreciation, I would like to invite Director General Sandeep Khosla to present a memento to Dr. Malia. It was really enlightening. Our next speaker is someone who needs not much introduction and who has a great following on social media and is a proficient orator. Please put your hands together to invite Mr. Sahil Nayar. Thank you, sir, for your views on employer branding made to measure.
All right. Very good morning, everyone. I don't need the mic, right? I think, when you go after Dr. Malia, it's a big honor, but it's also a huge responsibility. And the reason why it's such a huge responsibility is because when his experience is more than your age, you start wondering.
That's only a reminder of my age.
So you start wondering, are you in the right place? But I also loved the way each one of you all were making notes. So many lovely takeaways. Many of us were actually just laughing away, right? Because we could resonate with everything that we shared. And what I'm going to share with you today is unlike a very typical consultant. So I'm not going to come and give you some fancy slides. I'm not going to come and tell you I know it all because I truly don't know it all. All right? I think, Sandeep, thank you so much for having me over. Dr. Malia started off with a keynote. Now, the key is there. The notes are somewhere in the room. But I think the most important thing that we need to do is find out where is the block. What's the point of having a lot of money and having a lot of keys if you can't unlock the talent like we just spoke about? And I think in an ever-changing market, like we've seen in the last 3-4 years, change has been constant to the norm. It's been so constant, right? We have seen the market fluctuating from an employer's market to an employee's market to people having 6 offers to 10 offers on hand and negotiating their next salary not based on their current comp, but based on the last offer that they have, right? To the same people 3 quarters later being laid off, sitting at home and willing to join at 50% of their comp 2 years back. Trust me, it's not funny. And as much as we may say Bombay is resilient and we fight back and we jump onto the local train the next day after a bomb blast, the fact of the matter is we haven't got enough time to heal. And in the process of all of this, at the CHRO Summit, I want to spend some time with you, of course, not branding an organization that you can see uses some of this text, but I want to talk to you about a very, very important topic that is very close to my heart called employer branding. And more importantly, give it a tagline called made to measure. Because I think many a times one of the fallacies that we all fall prey to, like Dr. Malia mentioned, is come attend these 150 sessions, make great notes, go back to our organization and try and implement the same, without realizing that every organization is different. It is not possible to do a plug and play, and that's the reason why HR professionals, in the truest sense of the word, need to understand the culture and the context very well. As I said, like a typical consultant, I'm not going to give you beyond. I'm going to stand away from that, and I'm actually going to have a conversation with each one of you. Sawal, kuch jawab, or kuch baatein. Are you all game? Yeah? All these slides are rhetoric slides, and therefore I'm going to talk less and you're going to talk more, and the question is on your screen.
But Sahil, one thing I've always wondered, why do tall people have this क्यों बनेगा करोड़पति?
Maybe she had something to offer to say. आपका समय शुरू होता है. Yes. How many organizations wouldn't have integrity as one of their core values? Whether it's written, not written, doesn't matter. The question is, would any organization that you're part of, have been part of, are you very comfortable putting your hand up and saying, I don't think I need integrity as one of my core values? Anyone? No, right? Everyone agrees integrity should be a core value. But then we also say that our values are very core to us. Now come to think of the double whammy. If you're in a world where you need to differentiate yourself from every person sitting next to you, every organization sitting next to you, every organization fighting for that same talent, what is going to be your core value differentiator? Question to each one. I think you've had the expert talk, now we're going to have a conversation. So, what do you think should be a core value that differentiates you? Integrity should be a core value, but everyone is doing integrity.
But you have to believe in it. Most people don't believe it.
Lovely. So what you put on the wall is what you need to live by. Beautiful. And how do you live by integrity?
Like, believe in it. And you
So
have
you
to
believe
follow.
step one.
You have to follow.
How do you follow? Practice what you preach. What else? Walk the dog.
Culture of the
The culture of the organization. Brilliant. What else?
Be transparent.
Be transparent. Lovely. What else? What else? I have lovely set of values. If I preach them, but I don't follow, I don't walk the talk, I don't show it in my behaviors. It's just a nice thing on the wall. Sure.
certain people understand what behaviors to those values because any organization, including integrity or whatever, it's many things to many people and transactions, right? I mean, or in their daily life babies. So business integrity, and I'm talking about the integrity, it's not business, so that also I think somewhere it's okay.
Where is the back? Lovely.
Also the consequences, right? If somebody is failing that,
Super.
then you cannot say, I go home, I can't touch this person, right? So the consequences of failing, right? Something around that, which is extremely clear, extremely good. May not be transparent, but people have to know that there is a consequence.
What's your opinion? Okay. So Seema said three things that I had as a takeaway. One, define what you mean as a core value. What's the definition of integrity? Two, what are the positive indicators of what would qualify as integrity? And third, which is even more important than the second, is what are the negative indicators? So what would be as non-compliant when it comes to integrity? We all have expense reports, we all claim expenditure. I put one extra zero. It was a human error. Will you let me go? Will you not let me go? Question to all of you. Let's apply integrity at the workplace. Will you let me go? Will you not let me go? All people will say, human error, first time made a mistake, I'll give you a warning, I'll let you go. Put your hands up. How many say no? Won't let you go? An error is an error is an error. You should have checked. One extra zero and the rest, nota. Election round upon us. No answer? What do you do?
That is, we need to analyze that. Where things went wrong. You know?
So chori nahi hoti. It depends on the magnitude. Which chori hoti hai? I like the way different responses are coming in the room. Chori hoti hai. आप 10 रुपए चोरी करो या 1 करोड़ चोरी करो या 10 करोड़. So what do you say? No. Your experience says that magnitude plays a more significant role because then you come to severity of the problem. Bada scam, chuta scam. Got it. Okay. Anyone else? Different answer? Repeat offender. Absolutely. बार बार आप गलती करो तो वो गलती नहीं होगी. Okay. Okay.
Also, the person knows that he can.
Brilliant. Self-disclosure, or is it someone who's taught you? Yes. You saying something? Oh, anyone else? Yes, sir.
I think today's world, every company has its own definition of integrity.
Which is what Seema said. You define what integrity
Given
is.
the context of the business in the country,
Sure.
our organization feels like this is the way that this has to be done.
Right.
And we have to be in the fixed.
Let's connect the dots. How do core values impact an employer brand? Because the topic that we're talking about is employer brand. CHRO is in the room. How does core values impact an Beautiful. And if you don't have a good fabric, what will happen to the outfit? Beautiful. And you may have a fashion pop art.
Yes.
Beautiful. What else?
I think the
Yes.
connection between
I'll come to you in a minute. Finish it.
connection
Yes.
between personal values and organization.
Super! Finding a congruence between what my organization believes in as core values and what are my personal core values and where do I see a congruence. Yes.
I think we can have all values in our definitions, but it's about how to make the people feel safe also
Super.
around.
Psychological safety at the workplace. Very nice. How many of you believe this is true? Yes. You look very familiar.
Yes, thank you. So, there are layers,
Okay.
there are contexts,
Sure.
and when it comes to values, what I've seen is that there's an attempt to identify layers, there's an attempt to identify context,
Right.
particularly if the decisions are hard one about a top performer.
Sure.
If the decision is not about a top performer, then
It's an easier decision.
it's very much black and white, just like the image is there.
Got it.
So,
But we live in a world
How
with
do
50
we-
shades of grey.
how do we go through these layers? How do we know which are the layers to look at, not look at? And those are the fundamental questions which we as HR professionals have to be aware of.
Got it. And which is that talent for which you want to even come into that zone of 50 shades of grey? And which is that talent where you're very simply saying, this is black and white? But I have a larger question that I want to ask you. Is it even fair to differentiate people in an organization when it comes to values just because someone is a top talent? In reality, you're giving all the right answers here. It's not getting recorded. It's not going on YouTube, don't worry. But you're giving all the right answers here. In reality, is reality very similar to what you're saying in this lovely conference room? And therefore, what's the takeaway that we have is when we get back and rubber hits the road, what are we doing? You may say, oh, my boss's boss, oh, the board, independent directors, all of that, right? But fundamentally, how many times do we find it very comfortable to stick our neck out and saying, I'm not party to this? Right? And during my growing up years, I had a CHRO who, in every conference, used to say, I carry my resignation letter. Know the person, right? Now, the fundamental question that I've always had is, you don't need to go to war every single day. But you also need to stand up for what you believe. Yeah. Next question on your screen, और आपका समय शुरू होता है. Your ideal candidate is choosing you as much as you choosing them. True, not true? Even more so today. Even more so today. Yeah. And therefore, the question is, are we sitting in our ivory towers asking questions, saying, tell me a little bit about yourself, where do you see yourself 5 years from now, blah, 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 blah. Or are we looking at a very nice person and saying, hey, when are you getting married? I think fundamentally we need to stop and draw the line to say, whether it is us or whether it is business leaders, to say, is this question relevant? Number one. Number two, how are you making the person feel when you ask a question like this? And third, when you ask this question, what was your inference for you to decide whether this candidate is a right fit or not? And many times when you have this kind of a conversation with leaders, they will struggle to give you answers. And their answer will be maza nahi aaya. And the question is, the interview is not about maza. And you're doing a job. But that's the colloquial way of putting it. And I think fundamentally in an employer-employee market, where we've seen demand and supply play out so beautifully, and many of us, did we feel helpless as HR people when we had to pay 5x, 8x, 10x to a candidate when we knew they weren't good? The techies, all of those guys. Yeah, we actually felt very helpless because we knew that we didn't have a choice. We had to pay that kind of money if we wanted them in. At the back of our mind, we also knew that they're not worth it. But because we won projects, because we had situations where we needed people, went out and said, okay, come on. We knew that that person sitting out there is lip syncing. Yeah. We had an inkling. Let me not say we had evidence, but let me say we had an inkling. Did we put our foot down and say we will not hire? Some of us did. Said we will not hire against values. Some of us said very, very niche skill. I know there is a danger. I, as a business leader, am taking a call. I want to hire. If anything happens to the brand, to the reputation, whatever, we'll figure it out. We'll keep a close watch on him or her, but I will hire this person. And I think more than anything else, in a world that we live in that is so circular, please remember, today you may be the recruiter, tomorrow you may be the candidate. Yes or no? Yes. For those of you who like good songs and have a taste for music, let's move from gravitating to levitating. Every time I had a reason to leave, I had a stronger reason to stay back. I've written an article on LinkedIn called Being Paradoxically Millennial. 13 years with KPMG today, and I feel, should I have left earlier? Should I have stayed? Have I overstayed my welcome? Am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? And these questions really come up many times in your head because at your peer group, at a certain age or stage in life, you actually start wondering what becomes important for you. A great boss, a lot of money, a great role, challenges, a brand name, comfort, so on and so forth. But ultimately, the brand ambassadors, and again, I'm just speaking on from what we heard in the first session, find that one talent. It takes just one person. And when you have multiples of that one person, you can actually build a great employer brand because those become your brand ambassadors, your brand ninjas to go out in the market and talk about the brand. Yes or no? Yes. Fundamentally, having had an opportunity to interact with a lot of CEOs, I always ask them this one question. If I have to ask you, let me ask you a similar question. Can you name any CEO of HU, given that they've been our supporters? What's the first CEO's name from HUL that comes to your mind? Gurcharan Das, okay. Anyone else?
Procter and Gamble.
Sanjeev Mehta, okay, perfect. HUL has had so many CEOs. Yeah, but Nitin was the first clear name that came out, and then of course. Let's come to PepsiCo.
Right company. I'm from Coca-Cola.
It's like Coca-Cola, they won't even. They will not even. Fundamental point I'm trying to make is people who become great CEOs of organizations, great leaders, very rarely would you be able to name their successor. Very rarely. And in this forum, I can get you CEOs in the room, I can get you CHROs in the room, I can do this with different industry bodies. My experience has been it is very, very difficult for an audience to name any organization and a chain of 3 CEOs. CEO 1, CEO 2, CEO. And that speaks a lot. And that for me is gravitating revenue. Think about it. If you haven't heard the song, please listen to the lyrics tonight and you'll exactly understand where I'm coming from. Get off the talk. How many of us have a voice? Each other. How many of us have a voice? Everyone. How many of us exercise that voice? Yes, often with friends on a Friday evening at the bar or in office. This is what happens when you exercise your voice. Wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah. I didn't plan it. Trust me, I didn't plan it. It just happened. Right? I think many times there was an era where employees were treated as workers. Yeah. There was an era where employees started getting a voice. And today, people have overstretched the liberty to such an extent that they believe speaking to a person doesn't make sense, let me go and speak on a platform. Because the moment I speak on a platform, people will hear me, respond to me faster than anything else. But what also happens is that same organization, that same employer is going to call you up and say, please delete that post, please delete that comment. And it's not just about deleting the post or the comment, it's about a social media footprint. And let me tell you one thing, nobody wants to work with a nuisance employee. Nobody. And therefore, please be extremely careful about where do you make noise, right? Because that is just getting recorded everywhere. And there are many organizations today that don't just do a BGV, a background check, but also check for social media footprint. What are your religious views? What are your sentiments? What is it that you're commenting on? Whose posts are you commenting? Are you left? Are you right? Are you middle? Are you forward? Are you backward? I don't know what other people do. But the point is there a congruence between what you're doing internally and what you're doing externally? I have a lot of friends who came and told me, hey, Sahil, I get to know more organization from social media than I get to know in ours. News is first sent to the media and then to the employees. So if you call me and ask me anything, what's happening, there could be a possibility that I would have got to know after you because you read the news on social media faster than I read it because there's no internal communication. One end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, there is so much happening internally, which is the positive part, that people are so happy that it's not a paid post, but people are going out there and writing great stuff about the experiences that they're having in their organization. Choice is ours. Which end of the spectrum, or where in the spectrum do we want to be? I love the way Adil said, why do tall people get into this mode? The slide was made before he made that comment, but the question is, who's the big B? Question to each one of you. Who's the big B? Big B. Employees? Read the comment below. I have more followers on my personal account, could be LinkedIn, could be Insta, wherever, than my company's page. How many times have we seen amazingly successful leaders who become or try to become stronger than the organization brand? And what happens to them? What happens to them?
So as a rule, we had a rule that you could never build a brand for yourself. You had to only build the company.
How many of us know where does the line stop between building your own brand and building a company?
That is why you will never recall who
hand over the big guy.
Come to think of it, look at the loyalty. When did you leave Coke? Before I was born.
2005.
Before I was born. See, he left Coke before I was born. And the loyalty to the brand is so strong. And the rivalry is so silent that we can't hear it in this room, which has amazing acoustics. Right? Come to think of it. In today's world, how many people are building their personal brand over an organization brand? Lots. The question is why? And the question is, when that so-called talent leaves the organization, do they say that the organization is over or does the organization continue? Most cases. Does the organization have that same claim to fame like it had earlier or does it dip? So which means you're actually building a case to say your personal brand is stronger than an organization brand. Case to case. Why is it case to case? I think the rule is very clear. Organization brand should be larger than the individual brand.
That's what we get today. When we go times of India.
Yeah. And another person also who was at 9 p.m. became bigger than the organization.
Nation wants to.
And today I don't know how many people want to know whether where he is working.
Mr. Minister.
One is organization purpose and one is life purpose.
Okay. Sure.
Organizations, if they have strong systems in place, then it really matters very little as to who is leading the organization. No doubt there will be a gap,
Yeah.
but if the system is geared to manage and make things move, then the organization will continue.
Beautiful. So talking about sustainability beyond people.
So system
Right.
is
Can I be slightly provocative with your permission? Yes. Okay. The question I have for each one of us. All of us are HR people in the room? Most of us? Some of us? You're not an HR person.
I'm a team leader.
Okay.
So my other point is that how there is always an inherent kind of tension between the team leader and the HR.
Sure. Sure. I'll come to that. Just remind me towards the end of the Q&A after. If you actually come and think of this, I like the way someone at the back said that intrinsic motivators play a significant role of do I want to be the person in the poster boy or do I want to make my organization great because I'm just here for a journey. And I want to leave this place better than what I found it when I came in. And if that's the purpose, you will always see that you may not remember the CEO of Coke, but you'll remember a brand ambassador so many decades later who's still advocating for Coke. And like one brand ambassador sitting in front of you, you will have hundreds of such people. And I come from a consulting organization and I can tell you one consulting firm doesn't exist today, if you know the name. But everybody talks about the culture of that consulting organization, saying it was one of the best consulting organizations. But of course, got hit by a scam, doesn't exist today. But a great culture, a great place, formative years, people learned the ropes, and today they are across all the big four and the big six as senior partners. Right? And that's exactly about what we call as building an employer brand way beyond people. I'll be doing injustice to this session if I don't talk about moving from the big B to the big M. And the big M is the mullah. Yeah. How expensive an affair is employer branding? Is it expensive? A lot of dollars, a lot of money, do a lot of paid advertisements, paid posts, or is it economical? Expensive? Okay. It is?
time expensive.
Time expensive. Okay. Beautiful. Very nice. Anyone else?
Also, it's about the return of investment. It's kind of an investment, and how much you give the benefits and kind of talent you acquire. And so I think it's an investment. So rather than an expenditure, look it as an investment.
Investment. Okay. I like the word play.
value is being built by the employees.
Okay.
And if, let's say, sir is still promoting, do you have those kind of people in the
How do you know he's not getting paid for it? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, it can be.
Can be. You're doubting now.
No,
Person of his credibility, you're doubting.
I'm saying that there are possibilities.
You see how I'm just playing
Yeah,
out?
there are possibilities. What I'm trying to say is you're in an organization and you are convinced yourself about that organization, and you are probably becoming a brand ambassador for that brand with expensive.
So what's your good name?
Sachin.
Sachin.
हाँ,
Sachin.
Yeah.
Lovely. So Sachin, you hit the nail on the head, but you still leave me with a question. अब मेरे पास सवाल ये है, how do I know whether it is genuine or not? How do I know, just a case in point, whether Sahil is getting 5 crores to do a LinkedIn post because he has a lot of followers and he is advertising for a brand versus Sahil just went to a great 5-star or a 7-star, had a lovely experience and he's talking about it on LinkedIn. How do I know whether it is authentic, genuine or it is paid or commercially driven? You wouldn't know?
In today's day, there's content.
You wouldn't know?
The
Okay.
content will make the difference.
Lovely.
See, if you say that we are in a situation with influencers, we are talking about influencers, right? As a
Supposedly I'm one of them, so I'm talking from that space.
yeah, influencers, right? They are either promoting products, services, or
Sure.
in this,
Sure.
and probably you will get 1 or 2 posts or something that you're not able to know, right? But if things are repetitive, and you might probably get a hint that whether this is sponsored or this is probably information.
So I won't name the organization, but go on to some of these lovely sites like Glassdoor, this, that, and the other, and you will see amazing reviews. So go on and talk to any employee in that organization, and they will tell you it's a hogwash. What do you trust? Employee voice?
I would never trust all employees.
Yes.
Because if there's some small problem with the HR or the TL,
HR,
it
TL,
will be personal and then they go up. That's what I've seen that
Of
happen.
course happens. A toxic boss, mental wellness, I have access to social media, let me go and paint the town red. Is employer branding an expensive affair?
Let's put it in perspective.
Sure.
Dr. Malia just now displayed his loyalty to his brand of Coca-Cola.
Correct.
Previous employer.
Yes.
So what the organization has to do or did to enable his reaction to come out genuinely as it did? And that's the question for us to consider, because if that has to come out, what has to go in? And if what he said is valuable to somebody who's not part of the organization,
Yeah.
is it really an expense?
So if I were to answer your deep engagement, strong connection, and continued relationship. Today, I left in 2005 and became the president of SR. Even today, the Alumni Association of Coke meets all its employees once in a year. And the bonding is still built. After you are left, it is not salam. It doesn't work like that.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So, how expensive it is. Right? So what benefit you want to achieve?
Let me make this slightly more interesting. Shark Tank. Everyone watches Shark Tank? Yes? Yes, no?
Yes.
Some of you are giving me this blank look like where I come from. Okay. A lot of founders there, a lot of CEOs there. Are they promoting their own brand?
Yes.
Are they promoting their organization brand subtly?
Yes.
Not even subtly, like in the base. Who becomes a bigger brand? Is it expensive? Is it not expensive? Do you know they get paid on going on Shark Tank?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Expensive, not expensive. I think it's the medium you choose. Yeah. I can go onto Google and put a lot of advertisements and pay a lot of money. I could also go to a lot of events, get invited to a lot of events, not pay a single rupee and do a lot of branding. The point is, how do you look at money? I think as I come towards the end of my time, and I want to stick to time, employer branding is not a one-size-fits-all approach. You may have an MSME, like the chamber is working with. You may have large conglomerates like Cook, and I'm also now latching on to Cook. You may have individuals who become brands, who have written books, You Can Win, and many others. And you may have governments who are also spending immense amount of money on Our Country is Shining. 2000 and India Shining
47.
2014. 2014. 2014. Right. That was one of the largest campaigns. Of course, Barack Obama had a very different campaign, but even in India, the kind of investment on building a brand, not just for individuals, not just for organizations, but even the government at large, is not even funny. I want to wrap up by taking you into the future a bit. The future will have a lot of employer branding that fundamentally, and Adil spoke about some of those things in terms of engagement, connect, alumni meets, but it will be fundamentally purpose driven. What gets you connected to the organization while you're in it, and more importantly, once you moved on and become alumni, right? Is employee advocacy at the center of everything that's happening? Are there emerging technologies? DE&I is right here. So I'm going to say DEIB, because equity and belongingness are equally important. Of course, hyper-personalization and looking at data-driven decision making. All of this is great, but fundamentally, it is about you and I being in this room, and are we able to connect with people? Look at this one video, it's a very short video, but look at that and you will realize how an individual became synonymous with a brand.
Very happy to be here today with you all. And as some of you may know, about 5 had a liver transplant. Person who died in a car crash and was generous enough to donate their organs. And I wouldn't be here without such generosity. So I hope all of us can be as generous and elect to become organ donors. I'd like to take a moment and thank everybody in the Apple community for the heartfelt support I got to. It really meant a lot. And I'd also like to especially thank Tim Cook and the entire executive team at Apple. They really rose to the occasion and the company very ably in that difficult period. So thank you guys.
So beautiful, right? The knight talks about how he's alive. He also talks about gratitude. He also talks about offering gratitude to others, being a role model of how others can also save lives. But in all of this, he gives away one very, very important data point, which is what we call as succession planning in HR parlance. He announced his successor way, way beyond. And very few people picked it up. Now, in hindsight, I can play the video and say, hey, you know what, he announced his successor. But at that point of time, to have the vision to say, Tim Cook and the team was a clear way of saying, how do you really build a brand, how do you sustain a brand, and how do you pass on the legacy? Because at the end of the day, I can leave a space better than what you found it. You've added your 2 cents to this content. Thank you so much. I hope I've been able to add. I'd love to stay in touch with all of you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Nayar. That was so engaging. May I request Mr. Khosla to present the memento to Mr. Nayar?
Guys like Sahil always